Good morning, traders. It is Wednesday, May the 8th. Taking a look at the charts, we've got the SP 500 index. Yesterday was a pretty wild day with the markets. The volatility that we've seen, more or less, we've seen the market sell off and then it's had a sharp rebound, which we played this rebound here. Had another huge gap down. We played this rebound as well, both times hitting our first targets right near the highs. And that's the way our system it tries to pick up these short-term moves. This is the new system we're going to try and apply to the trading app so that you can follow the charts live in the members area and follow the signals. More or less, when we hit a T1, which is the first target area, that's the level where the market is going to be technically short-term overbought. It's the first level of resistance. It's just where momentum should take price. After it goes extreme one way, it should recoil and go back the other way. And you can see each time it hit those, it only went a little bit higher and then collapsed. And we had a flip signal yesterday, which we traded at the inverse ETF, where the market trend, it went from green. When it goes to orange, we flip directions. You can get a very strong momentum move to the downside. And we actually caught this full move to the downside. We actually hit our T1 in the later in the afternoon for that. This type of trend reversal, if it plays out as we expect, and based on the VIX, we saw a huge pop in the VIX closing at 6. It was trading up at 9 at one point in the day. Anything above 7, though, usually says we're going to have more selling the next day. There's just too much momentum, and we're going to see continued flush out selling the next day. So if we take a look over here, here's yesterday's bar. We saw the market sell all the way down. A bunch of short covering right near the end of the close to kind of pull back up. But overall today, we're trading lower and going back down to test those lows. So we are continuing to see more selling. Ideally, I'd like to see this drop a bit more and flush and break some new lows. And we've got volume ramping up. And we should get something, some lower candle wicks like this, or a day like this where we get a big, long, lower wick. And we'll see the VIX spike even more. The higher the VIX goes, the better. It means the market's cleansing itself even more. And we'll probably see this panic selling ratio potentially jump higher today as well. So that's what we're looking for is a flush out low here. We're still in a strong uptrend. If we do get this big flush out, we may just get out of our SDS and see what we're going to do. Maybe even short UVXY simply because it loses value over time. But we'll see how the market unfolds going forward. That's where we are. Ideally, we'd like to see a flush out low today, and it could set up for some new trades going forward. Now let's take a look over at metals. Gold just kind of popped really in the last 15 minutes here. It was flat on the session. It just started to pop. It is starting to make a higher high. It's breaking this previous high, so it looks like it's starting to be seen as a safe haven. Yesterday, it didn't really do much of anything. Silver yesterday ended up actually trading lower. Again, not so much seen as a safe haven. Starting to get a little bit of a pop today. Yesterday, though, we did see money start to move into the miners, seeing more as a safe haven. It still feels like a little bit of an oversold kind of bounce and pop. It's kind of getting up to short-term resistance. But if the market is rolling over, this could very much so be the start of something bigger. We're pretty close to our downside targets for the metals and the miners. And if the equities market does crack to the downside, we're going to see these become the safe haven play and move forward. So we just stuck our toe in the water with a small quarter position here. Just because we have a buy signal on miners doesn't mean you go all in and buy everything, because we could very much so see this actually still flush down, and that's why I said we'll potentially add, or we're looking to add to this. If we do get a flush down low, we're going to add to it. If it goes into an uptrend and has its first bullish pause or pullback, we will add to it, but don't want to just jump all in at one position. And more or less, when we have a buy signal on miners or silver or gold, they're pretty much all the same trade. They pretty much move together. They all just move different percentage amounts. So if we get long miners, you can also get long, you could get long gold or silver, whichever is of your choice. A lot of you like to trade just gold. Some of you want to just trade miners. So that is up to you. But more or less, when we get a buy signal, in really just the general SP 500, that is also a time that you can trade really any index. you can buy it or sell it depending on our signal or any stock, because the stocks tend to move with the market. So just know that when we have a precious metal signal, if you don't want to trade GDXJ, you want something else, an individual gold miner or the physical metal, is the same more or less theory, and they should all move together in general. So anyways, we're going to see if we get a breakout in miners today. They are trading higher. They're trading up at 29.46. So they're trading up here. So they're starting to get some traction. We'll see if they end up popping and breaking, and see if they end up becoming more of the safe haven play. You can see here on our trend analysis chart, it's still red, and we're still under the key moving averages. It is not fully in an uptrend yet. It is still negative, but we are oversold. It's seen as a safe haven play, and we're just slowly going to leg into it in case we have another washout low down here and sell off in the gold miners. Now let's take a look over at energies actually, let's go to the VIX real quick. The VIX, huge pop yesterday. This morning it's popped back up pretty much to yesterday's highs as well. Ideally, I'd love to see another bout of selling this morning and we see the VIX spike up into the low 20s, into the 2250 or 25 area. That would be a really good sign that the market is starting to trying to carve out a significant bottom. But overall, it's still holding up and moving higher. If we take a look over at energies, natural gas up 1.1%. Again, kind of oscillating around this green line, which should have acted as support, but it broke through it, and now it's more or less turning a support zone into this whole area is kind of acting as a support zone. So it's in this channel and kind of working itself out, kind of just snaking around. If you're still long UGAS, you got to remember just holding UGAS and natural gas really going nowhere, you're going to lose value in UGAS. It just continues to decline. So UGAS is, you got to get in at support. If it bounces, you quickly get out. If you hold it through all this snaky price action, even if natural gas moves up, you can still lose money. So be very cautious holding these triple leverage ETFs. There's a reason why when we get a breakdown and we get stopped out, you got to bite the bullet and get out. That's just part of trading. Holding on to leveraged ETFs is a great way to just painfully, slowly lose money, hoping for some type of pop and rally, and sometimes they just never come. Looking over at crude oil, up 0.25% this morning. It's holding its ground here at the 50-day, the 200-day moving average. It's still got a bearish formation. It's stuck right under this 5-day. At any point here, we could see it actually have a really nice pop or drop. It's sandwiched in here. It's been coiling. It is a bear flag. We could very easily see this break down to this 59 area very quickly, or it's going to pop probably up to the 63.55 very quickly. Overall, it's kind of got some mixed signals here. The major trend is still up. It's just doing a deeper correction, and it's at these key moving averages. And the short-term bias is it is still down and under the 5-day, so it could continue to just do this kind of chopping around, and it can continue to flirt and get down to this next support level around this 58, 57 area. Looking over at, let's pull up the chart of Bitcoin real quick here. Bitcoin relatively flat on the session. A little bit of early volatility. We saw a bout of selling and a recoil back here. Overall, it do feel as though it is getting into this resistance zone. I talked about this yesterday. We're getting into this area here, the 6,000 mark, where it acted as support and then a huge breakdown. And now we're into this 3 kind of pushes to a new high with strong selling after each one, where the market kind of came up. It actually had a quick bout here, but more or less made a new high, sharp pullback, made a new high, sharp pullback, and it's making a new high with some volatility. If this starts to break down, we could very easily start to see a very sharp correction back down to the 42 or the 4,000 mark and cleanse itself out. More or less, I'm not a fan of rising highs and more or less horizontal lows. It's kind of a broadening somewhat formation and a sign of weakness. And of course, we're coming right into this 6,000 resistance area. Last but not least, let's just pull up our XLU. XLU is the utilities ETF that we are long, it is seen as somewhat of a safe haven. Actually, yesterday was a huge day of selling, and XLU only traded down about a 1/4%. Actually held up very well. It is seen as a safe haven. It actually dipped down in the last couple trading sessions. It got oversold, had a rebound. It got back down to oversold. Now this is a sideways trending market, and it's not the index, so we're not really following this trend signal so much. But more or less, yesterday it actually got oversold into the close and then quickly had a rebound. Long-term wise, we got a nice bull flag forming here, and it looks like it could be seen as a safe haven play going forward as the VIX. We talked about this in an article a little while ago that when the VIX is really low, that's usually when utility stocks start to outperform because it means people are going to start to, when fear creeps in, utilities become a safe haven play. So hopefully we'll start to see this pick up speed and outperform the rest of the market. Looking at SDS, you can see here in a downtrend, had a nice pop there. This is what we got long yesterday, and hopefully we'll see this have a bit more of a pop higher and continue to move up. As you can see, our trend analysis, it's red. It's been moving lower, and it changed from red to orange, which is the signal we got in yesterday, getting long, hitting our first target. And now we'll see if this is going to continue to kind of have a bigger spike and pop up and flush out today. So all we're looking for is continued selling, and we'll see how big the selling goes today for what we're going to do with the rest of the positions. Anyways, that's it for now. Talk to you in a little bit. Bye-bye.